Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be adult language. There will be strong language and adult themes. Nothing in this broadcast should be taken to be legal or medical advice.
Hello.
Hello. So today we have with us Godless Sewing. And we have Jenny providing us the lovely scenery of the river.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A tour is by Jenny. Come on.
Hey, if we got you a pontoon boat, that's buckets of cash.
Okay, so Jenny, you want to tell people where it is you're looking at here?
Well, we are in at the actual city of La Crosse, Wisconsin. We are on the banks of the Mississippi flowage. That off in the distance is the river, but right here in front of us is part of the flowage where there's lots of islands and marshes and things. We're sitting at the 7th Street boat launch, where, as you can see, there's canoe and kayak launching on this end, and on the other end there's power boats and stuff like that get launched. Just behind us is the Greene Street ice arena, where the local minor league hockey team plays, and a number of high school teams compete. And that's about it. So it's just a nice little area, and I hope I don't get hit on by the La Crosse parking police, because I'm technically supposed to be paying for this spot here, and I don't have a dime to my name. So if we have to move, we may move in the middle of the show. We'll see. And keep your eyes. If you see a big bird flying in the background somewhere, it's probably an eagle.
Well, it's kind of like you're not driving, you're traveling. If you're sitting in the car, you're not really parking.
Well, that is true. Yes, I'm living here. I'm living here right now. Yes.
So in the state where I live, if you said that, they legally couldn't tell you to leave, even if you didn't pay, because that's legally your residence. If you were like, I live here, the cops would legally have to walk away.
Aren't those weird laws?
So in the side chat, we have Rachel Martin and Nerdy Rodent and Ox and Greg Hartwig.
So, hi, gang.
Hey, you know what it is? We used to have public servants where we were over the public servants, but now it's still that way, but we've been lied to, and people think that like the cops are above you. And so now, you can't people don't necessarily talk to the cops like they used to, or stand up for themselves. They don't know their own rights anymore. People don't know that a cop can't necessarily just walk up to you and search you for no reason. But most people will just allow it to happen. I wouldn't.
Well,
but I'm honoring.
The problem is, while legally they can't search you, if you tell them no, they can harass you and make things really fucking uncomfortable for you in other ways.
Oh, absolutely. They talk in circles until they get you to the point where they can search you.
So what's legal and what can actually happen are two different things there.
We gripe about that all the time here, because there's a lot of things that, like, if people had just walked past each other, other people would still be around. And I'm not saying that like everybody's innocent, but if we mind our own business, some people would still be here, and that goes for public officials and people who just mind their own business and go to work every day.
What really bothers me most about the complacency and apathy of the American public is how they will tolerate stuff like this because they don't feel it affects them directly, and they'll have the statement of something like, well, I don't have anything to hide, and so therefore everybody else is what they're really saying is, I don't mind having my rights violated, and they should violate yours too, since I don't have anything to hide.
Exactly. I'll never understand it.
And it's just so rude for people to they've just completely lost sense of being in society, to be part of the society, that it's a team, that it's something that we all succeed together doing. That if we don't come together, divided we fall.
Exactly. And that's the one thing I stress the most, because a lot of the times we come out here and we talk about our divisions and stuff like that, but we're all getting screwed. At least I can only speak for America. I know what's going on in the UK, but I don't live there, so I can't necessarily go off on it. But in America, we're all being squeezed right now. All of this stuff going on is a distraction story for the fact that our country is basically broke. We don't make anything anymore.
Well,
we don't,
Yeah, it's because they've been pushing the idea of the, staunch American independence, but they've really been using it as a divisionary tactic. That if they keep everybody independent, nobody can rally a big enough group to get them out of office.
Or own anything. You can't, I knew people that came together, 3 or 4 people, and they bought a store, and it was a success. But it took 3 of them. But you really can't do that too much anymore.
Well, yeah, and that was the whole idea before of the farm cooperative, that they realized that not every little farmer needed to own his own tractor.
Yeah.
But if everybody in the town pitched in together and they bought 2 or 3 tractors, that there would always be one available whenever somebody needed one.
Exactly. And even in my neighborhood, it's well known that I have a full setup for a party. I have 7-foot tables. My neighbors will come and ask me, like, hey, can I borrow your table? Sure. I had a neighbor who, it was old and they broke the table. They bought me a new one the next day. I don't know if people have that sense of community anymore. I don't know. I can't speak on it too much because I live in Mayberry. I live in a slice where we still have barbecues. I still wave to my neighbors, so it doesn't reflect America here, I don't think.
Okay, well, everybody is asking about...
You live next door to the Cleavers.
I do. The real Beeve lives here. Jerry Mathers lives, I just doxed myself, but he lives in my hometown.
Okay, well, everybody is asking about Sloth Girl, and at this point, I dropped her off at the hospital with your son before we started here, and basically that's about all I know at this point. She should be entering the surgery by now, but, I basically have to wait for her son to send me updates.
Okay.
Yeah, because with the COVID, the hospital policy is that each patient could only have one person enter the building with them. So that's all I know for now. But at some point in the broadcast, I probably will have to just mute myself and answer the phone for a bit.
Okay. Understandable.
But if everything goes as expected, they will still plan to keep her in overnight. And then I will be picking her up tomorrow morning. So I will post updates to the Twitter groups as I know something more.
Awesome.
Oh, and Angie's going into the hospital to check on her husband, so hope he is doing well. Yeah, nerdy what Sloth Girl's in for. She doesn't want me to go into specifics, but it's not a small surgery, but they are doing it laparoscopically, so it will just be a series of small incisions. But just the healing time, because it is cutting through some major muscle groups, that she's just going to have trouble pretty much moving around at all for several weeks.
Yikes.
So, I can identify with it. I expect the recovery is going to be much the same as what I went through with my hernia a couple of years ago.
After my car accident, it took me a while to learn how to walk again, so I understand about recovery.
Well, after my hernia, I had about 2 weeks that I literally could not stand upright, so I was crawling on hands and knees to go to the bathroom. And even after that, it was a total of about 6 weeks that I really couldn't get on my chair to do much more than go to the bathroom.
Exactly. Yeah, I know all about that. That's awful. That is.
I was real surprised at how rapid the recovery time and effort was for me when I had my hips replaced. I had one side done at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And geez, they have you up out of bed the first day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Oh yeah.
and you know, walking 10, 20, 30 feet and you know, back to bed. And then by the second day they got you walking 100 feet, you know, and by the third day they're expecting you to be fairly independent and get the hell out of here. It was all doable. There was the amount of pain was actually not much.
My mom had the same surgery. She had a home nurse, and it was the exact same thing. It was the exact same thing. Like first day, okay, you feeling better? Good. Get up, take a couple steps.
Yeah, my mom had a hip replacement 2 years ago, and not an immediate thing for me, but you know, pretty much the whole family model that I, you know, at 50, I was considered the young muscle in the group because I was the only one who had 2 functioning knees.
I know how that is.
So,
I'm like,
yeah, it's still pretty much inevitable that probably within the next 10 years, I'll probably have to have a knee replaced.
I wish my knees worked. My
ouch.
left knee
I
is
feel
absolutely
like that.
horrible. It hurts me
Yeah.
all the time, nonstop.
Are we
My
really
right
talking about? So one, I feel like my knee is just gonna give out one day. I can feel whatever pain is coming because every once in a while it'll give a really heavy twitch. But I just figure that's from 3 car accidents and a really bad motorcycle accident.
Well, I almost had my left knee replaced a few years ago, but I changed my mind because the recovery from a knee is significantly more difficult than a hip. And I wasn't aware of that when I scheduled, but as the closer it got, the more I learned.
Nerdy,
And
you are hilarious.
I live alone. I don't have anybody to care for me. So I decided I couldn't do it, you know, for the sake of recovery.
Yeah.
So I'm going to figure out something that way. Hey, maybe I could get married.
Hey, there's a Nigerian prince just waiting to marry you right now.
No doubt.
I actually, to completely change the subject, I knew a human being that got a real mail order bride. He lived in Oregon. And she waited the prerequisite year until she was an American citizen. She flew her son over and literally left the next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did the guy know?
I've actually heard on the internet a number of stories like that.
This and you know, I actually know someone. I have a soccer mom who is from Vietnam, and she will tell you that her husband basically purchased her from her mother, and she's my good friend. Our children have gone to school together. Like we're Facebook friends. She has my phone number. She is an absolute amazing human being. So not every person who comes here is coming here to rip somebody off, you know?
No, but I was going to say the first one you were talking about, he was one of the lucky guys. Sloth Girl, you know, among her weird fascinations, one of the channels she watches does a lot of stories like that about these mail order brides that after they got their citizenship and they bring family members here and the husband mysteriously disappears and they continue to live in his house.
That's so awful. I'm laughing.
That's scary.
I'm laughing because I don't trust anyone. I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to trust somebody. There's a vetting process. You have to meet them just to make sure they'll stab you to your face and not in your sleep. But we kind of knew, it's body language too. He was my boss. He was my district manager. He loved me because we were both from LA and we were the only people that we knew from LA and Portland. So we'd hang out. And I would tell him, like, candidly, like, she's way too hot for you and she's going to dump you. And, like, he came up to me a year later and he said to my face, she was way too hot for me and she dumped me.
Aww.
Yeah, he was, just, he had a good job, but he was kind of a heavyset guy, smoked a million cigarettes. He was just a normal guy. Kind of shy, and he got played.
Okay, and Nerdy only wants to rent, not to own.
That would be so awkward. And I'm going to say this. Could you have servants? Could you have a butler in your house?
No.
I couldn't have someone just hanging around my house, like walking around and randomly cleaning stuff. It would be weird to me.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I dated a young woman who her parents let me move in their house when I went to college, and they had maids. And the maids didn't know I spoke Spanish, and it was the most awkward 2 years of my life.
Did you ever learn that you spoke Spanish?
No, because they were talking shit about me the entire time.
Yep. What I always thought was really strange was like the British concept of, a manservant for the English gentleman, that you have this guy who's basically being paid to be your best friend.
Puff Daddy has a very famous manservant. I always thought it was weird. I don't know. I just couldn't have someone constantly asking me like, oh, I wouldn't mind a driver. I want to be that rich where I don't ever have to drive again.
Well, yeah, I do that too. Yeah.
Because I always say, like, if I could get rid of cars, I would do it. And I like driving. I just don't like the amount of people. But
I think really like the title manservant.
You do or you don't?
I don't.
It's a very old world title.
Mm-hmm. But it feels very. It's just offensive.
No, I agree. And I am on that whole, like, no human being can own another human being, tree hugging lefty stuff. So how I feel about anyone owning anything, That's why I brought up that whole thing about maids. It just gets awkward. Or, I'm so OCD. Honestly, I'll end up helping the maid because I'm a clean freak myself. So I would just, like, hand her a joint and be like, hey, come hang out with me.
I'd love to see that. That'd be a great movie. Guy hires maid, becomes a couch potato pothead with her.
I drink a lot of coffee, so I sew and smoke weed. Okay.
Actually, Sarah, that's next week's topic is International Sex Worker Day, so we'll get into that then.
Ooh, I'm gonna go off. I actually have a lot to say about that, but you should not. There should not be a stigma around paying for sex.
I'm gonna come naked, masturbate. if y'all pay me.
I was gonna say, to be on topic, somebody's got to be paying for it.
What about I love you, nerdy. No, nerdy. I am not trying to cancel Batman. I actually like Batman is one of the Batman's my favorite character. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I would never bad enough Batman. I personally could not have. See, it's different. I could have an Alfred who helped me with my jet and my bat car and my shark spray. That's different, I just couldn't have someone walking around with a towel on their arm. Like, you get out of the shower and they hand you a towel. That's weird.
Okay, but if you think about the whole Batman thing, what's weird is if you go back to the original comics from the 60s, Alfred pretty much raised him.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's his boss. That just seems a really weird dynamic.
Well,
so
you can be a boss and still have a relationship between each other.
Okay,
I've been in that situation. It's weird from time to time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's flipping like that. That Alfred was basically his parent, and now he's Alfred's boss.
I was raised by two farm hands and about 30 women that still work on the ranch, and they've seen me since I was born, and I'm their boss now. They've literally known me longer than I've known myself, and I'm awkwardly their boss. It happens, but it's more of that nepotism, this kid was born into it kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, see, I have such a disdain for authority that I just never would want to be anyone's boss.
See, that's the thing. I do too, and people do their jobs. I leave them alone. They love me. I leave everybody alone. If I'm showing up, someone's getting fired. And I go there. I'm there every day. But my whole point is, like, I believe in leaving people alone. So I'm in that sense, I'm not a hover boss at all. I'd rather sit here and hang out with you guys.
Well, and that makes great business sense. The surveys show that companies that give more autonomy to employees do better for quality control, for volume of sales, for reduced sick days, all kinds of good benefits for giving people autonomy.
Except if a company has things posted about employee empowerment, that means the employees aren't empowered at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to say it.
It's really funny. I only put up that law requirement poster I have to put up every year. We have really good health insurance, so people don't quit at my job. Our health insurance. You can get lap band. You can fully transition. Like, our insurance is amazing. So people literally have worked there for 30, 40, 50 years. So.
Well,
but yeah, if you
develop your business so that as you replace people, you replace them only with transgender people who need to transition and become eventually an exclusively transgender staff company, strictly so that they can transition with insurance and.
I've been accused of that twice.
In a good environment.
And then I called someone a dinosaur for not being up on the times. I am like the resident woke person because I am under 60. And so, there's always that clash with the old world and the new world. But honestly, in my line of work, it's if you're going to I help special needs adults. If you're looking for that kind of work, you're already kind of a good person, you already kind of have, you kind of have a sense of yourself already. So seeing a trans woman isn't going to bother you, or a trans man isn't going to bother you. I have someone that I've known my entire life that is, she would talk me. She's a hardcore lesbian. She literally taught me how to weld. I've known her my whole life. I've never had an issue with her. And she knows more about astrophysics than I ever knew because she went to college.
Well, it is one of my big concerns here is kind of, how are the other people in my building going to take it? Just as far as, there's a couple of guys who tend to sit by the door and just overhearing their conversations. They've got a very Christian bent. So it's like, are they going to hassle me when I'm just trying to go from my car to my apartment?
There's like a couple lines of thought. My first thing is buy mace or like check out your legal right to own a taser in your state. And,
again, it's a question of, I know I'm on solid legal ground, but even so, I'm the new guy. And if I have a hassle with people who have been residents here many years, how's the building management going to handle that kind of situation?
Or you can be direct and be like, I'm going to transition and you're going to get over it.
Well, I mean, there really isn't much other course for it, but, like I say, you don't know how other people are going to deal with it and how uncomfortable they can make it.
Oh, absolutely. I think I overthink things, so I think what's going to happen is they're going to see you and then they're going to get over it. They're going to be forced to get over it, Did we lose Jenny?
She probably just had to move and lost the signal for a bit. I'm sure she'll be back in a couple of minutes.
It is, change is strange, but it's, I always tell myself it's not for me, so they're just going to have to deal. I'm militant, Purple, I'll show up. I'll show up with my patches and a baseball bat. I don't like self-appointed doormen and people like that.
Yeah, well, that's like I say, we've got these two guys who are basically the building's self-appointed doormen.
Do they just like hang out there all day, every day?
Most of the time, yeah.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
They just have nothing better to do, so they just sit there by the front door and watch who goes in and out.
That reminds me of Goodwill Hunting. I couldn't waste my life like that.
I never saw that.
I won't spoil it for you then.
Oh, I don't care.
And
honestly, if a movie's been out more than a year,
well, it's that old Matt Damon and
that's what I mean. Yeah,
it's just it deals with like people that live in certain neighborhoods and have that like mentality, that loser mentality, hanging out at the liquor store, or like, I'm from South Boston, so I have to act a certain way. People in LA do it all the time. They feel like they have to fit a stereotype because they're from a certain neighborhood, Yeah. Well, Harmonica Man's right. They probably do complain about lazy people as they sit there all day.
Oh yeah, I've overheard that already. They complain about people who are on welfare, but I'm sure both of them are just collecting Social Security.
Okay, so we used to talk about this all the time. I never understand people who vote against their own interests or somehow assign themselves a different tax bracket than what they're really in. I'll never, like, if you're receiving checks, how can you clown somebody who is as well, or say, oh, they look like they're on welfare or something, when you're the one who they're projecting their insecurities and fear.
It's, basically, all the people who support Trump that aren't millionaires, it's because they buy into the idea of the American dream that one day they could be millionaires, but they don't at all look at the reality that yeah, where you are, that's just never going to happen, and you're going to be lucky to be able to pay your rent next month.
Exactly. And that's my thing. I still to this day don't that's beautiful, Jenny. I don't understand people who vote against their own interests.
I'm sorry, the camera was sitting in the windshield and it overheated, and so now I'm shooting up the side window.
Okay. Well, the other thing, that the Republicans keep fanning the flames for, and why they keep getting people in the poor states to vote for them, is the idea that, okay, yeah, at this point you're barely getting by, but if you give some minority equal rights, that's going to move you down the ladder a couple of steps. And it's like, it doesn't fucking work that way. Giving somebody else equal rights does not diminish your rights. But the Republicans, fearmonger and get people to believe that every election.
Do you know what's really funny, Purple? That was an old 1980s tropes they used to say about the LGBTQIA plus movement. Like, they want special rights. There's no such thing as special rights. They just want to be treated equally like everybody else, and that's it. It's the same recycled fear mongering from back in the day.
Yep. Yeah, they want special rights. They want the rights to have a relationship and get married.
When I've recently heard that, I had to take a step back because I hadn't heard that argument since I was a child. Honestly, that is like a sitcom bad argument. It's just misplaced. And honestly, recently I've heard a lot of bad arguments recycled. Like, someone recently said, "Oh, look, black people can be racist too." That's on the basis that you think black people are different than you. Everybody is racist. Every what we consider race or whatever you want to say, everybody says something bad about somebody. I speak Spanish. Oh, no, it's okay.
Just flashing back to Avenue Q, one of the songs in there was everybody's a little bit racist.
Well, it's that dynamic that the Republicans grab onto and try to get their knuckle draggers to believe that it has been this group or that group that has made their life so difficult that it's because of them.
Yeah.
That you have a problem, you and your friends have a problem. Them. They focus on the tribalism because they know that divides people. And they know about divide and conquer.
It is. If the black people had stayed in slavery, their lives would be better.
And see,
how about you make that clear that was sarcastic?
Purple rhymes with Orange Industries would like to clearly state that was sarcasm. That was sarcasm. This is not for children. I try not to, but it does because I'm annoyed. You know what it was? It was never about race with me, and then I got back online. And the same old arguments that have been going on forever, people are still arguing about them.
Yeah.
I would honestly rather stare at the trees with Jenny. I'm sitting cross-legged smoking a J in my mind right now, staring at those trees.
And
go ahead.
Oh, just the whole thing, with the white privilege and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, I've been broke. I've lived below the poverty line most of my life. None of my family was even on this continent until after 1900. But I still have to acknowledge that, yes, I still have some level of white privilege just because I don't get hassled just for the way I look.
Because you're white.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, most of the privilege still has more to do with economic class than race. But just being white gives me advantages.
There's lots of levels of privileges. It was interesting. I was just talking about this with my therapist yesterday. Rolling around on the ground, crying like a baby. I have a lot of guilt when it comes to relating to. I want to say this carefully. A number of trans people I meet online on Twitter. I have guilt. I have just guilt up my ass because I'm not, but I'm essentially done with transition. I've been living my life this way. I had my surgery decades ago, and for some people who want to attain those goals, they may never be able to because of finances or medicine or the safety of their environment, and I just feel guilty about it. And I know that's weird, but I can't make it go away.
That's actually not weird at all. I have a bleeding heart. Like, I want to donate to every GoFundMe. I want to, you know what I'm saying? I have survivor's guilt because I was down and out throughout my 20s and living in my car. And so I kind of have an idea what you're saying. I feel extremely bad when people say they're broke or something like that, but you can't save every single person, You could stand up for your message and say, hey, this is what I stand for. But in the end, it's not,
Yeah.
It's not just, people like Purple and I are here to help you.
Well, and I was feeling some of that awkward like that myself because, okay, it's taken me until my mid-50s before I could start the process. But it's once I got things going, pretty much everything's falling in line real quick. And it's I'm hearing from some of these other people how they've got to wait 6 months to a year to start the hormone therapy. And I'm like, yeah, that's, a couple of doctor's visits and I've got it.
It's also
I was kind of feeling a little awkward even announcing it because I know some people in our group that, have been waiting so long just to get in to see someone for it.
But it's not your fault that you live in a place that had an infrastructure ready for you at the time. You came at the perfect moment.
To be honest, if I had moved here 5 years ago, the same infrastructure wouldn't have been available to me.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the luck of the draw. Well,
what's really annoying about the thing is Perp's got real good coverage because of Medicaid, federal Medicaid, and what the state of Minnesota has decided to do to integrate those dollars into their culture. And then you get a place like Ohio that gets the same goddamn Medicaid dollars, but tells a transgender person go piss off. It's like, God damn it.
We used to have a federal government that would take care of things like that, but they're too worried about losing the next election.
Well, and Medicaid is a really screwed up system because it is funded by the federal government. It is regulated by the state government, and it is administered by your local county.
Mm-hmm.
So you're simultaneously dealing with 3 different levels of government for one program. Not to mention, the county farms most of that out to an insurance company.
Oh yeah, and you could easily have one county social worker in, say, a rural community. A rural community like where I'm living, Houston County, Minnesota. It has maybe a half dozen people for the entire county. And not all of them are counselors. Some of those are support staff. And if you had one or two of those people who were just fucking pricks and hated trans people and wanted to dick with them, they could easily delay things or just plain lie and say, no, that's not covered.
Happens all the time.
Well, that's why in Michigan I didn't even bother to bring it up when I was living there, because I fought for a year and a half with their mental health system just to get a prescription for the same drug I had been on for the previous 3 years in New York.
Wow.
Because they didn't even want to bother to look at the records from my previous clinic to see that I had already been prescribed this. They just decided I had come in there as a drug seeker.
We have more bureaucracy in this freaking care. Oh, these subjects, they get me all angry because we waste our time with red tape. We rip each other off, and all people are trying to do is get well. And if we expose people who were using the system, we could weed them out. And then, I know I'm pie in the sky lefty.
Well, and, they like to use that as a flag that, people are cheating the system and taking advantage of Medicaid and all this. And it's like, yeah, it does happen, but every study they've done on it have shown that this is never at most more than 1 in 1,000 people on the system in any given county.
That's like in California, they were trying to show all the voter fraud, and all the voter fraud they found was for Trump.
Yeah. Ain't that a kick in the ass?
Yeah, well, and that's happened across the country, but the Republicans will still bring that up. That they found, 300 fraudulent ballots in this county. And then they go on and rant about voter fraud. And they skip mentioning that all those 300 ballots voted for the Republican candidate.
Oh, I literally almost went off like a rocket when I finally heard the real statistics. I was like, wait a minute. They're arguing. They're literally like saying, hey, there was cheating. There's cheating. Their side were the ones that were cheating.
Yeah.
It's insanity. That's insane to me. And Chad, hold on. Sorry, Jenny, really quick. Chad, I'm on prednisone today. So if I seem a little bit more jumpy, it's because my lungs weren't doing well last weekend. So I'm on prednisone. So I'm opinionated about everything today. Sorry, Jenny.
No, not a problem. Continue on.
Well, I forgot what I was talking about because I had to come with my disclaimer.
And I forgot what I was going to mention.
No, because people are going to be like, Godless Schooling was extra chatty today.
Like I say, I'm used to it. The prednisone 10-day cycle was usually what they put my fiance on when she had to go to the emergency room with the asthma attack.
It works like a wonder drug, but it grabs me. It grabs me and it makes me anxious, and I end up smoking more joints because it's so strong. And it's meant to
dose down.
Today is my dosing down day.
Well, and what Sarah's saying here that, it's like they wanted to drug test everyone who was getting WIC and child support. And, and it's like, yeah, again, when they did that, they found, virtually no one on these programs was taking drugs that they could detect.
Exactly.
But again, that's not what it was about, because if you looked, every place that initiated these, the company that was doing the drug testing somehow linked back to one of the people who supported the bill to have it done.
Oh, what a corrupt.
So that's, it was all about them just giving money to companies that they were invested in.
You know what happens is that there's companies that actually pay their taxes, they help their employees, they do everything they can, and then there's 500 other companies ripping off everybody. So I have a question. Is there price gouging going on with food where you guys live? Like, do you notice the prices in food going up, or?
Yes, and I think that is gouging because nothing else went up to
I don't know if I'd say there was price gouging going on, but prices on a lot of things are going up just because COVID disrupted a lot of supply chains.
I've noticed because I go shopping for two different houses. I pay attention to prices, and I grew up old school. I grew up on house brands, so I'm always doing the math. And the math is never in your favor. Like they'll sell a 24 pack of Pepsi for $8.99, and then they'll sell 3 what's it called 12 packs for $3.99, and you end up getting ripped off either way.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I've been able to make some money off of doing internet sales as opposed to the home repairs, because the prices on a lot of the home repair goods has just gone through the roof. I mean, lumber is going for some of it 5 or 6 times what it went for 2 years ago.
Paint, don't even get me started.
And again, it's because of the supply chains. It's because of problems with international shipping and things that and also with the home repair stuff, that since people have been home with nothing to do, they're doing their own renovations.
Except that all of the lumber we use here is grown here and processed here and created here. Press boards and plywoods and things. Engineered lumber. What the heck? We export lumber. Now, if the shipping is screwed up and they can't ship something out, that means it's sitting on the dock and the supply is going up. That means the price should be coming down. Okay, and instead they raised it up. They're conning everybody. They're just plain lying.
So I went shopping last Thursday.
That's not entirely true, because actually a lot of the stuff that you find at Home Depot actually does come from Canada
and Mexico. Well, see here, a lot of stuff comes from Mexico because of how close we are. Mm-hmm. And if you were to go into Tijuana, on the other side of Revolution Boulevard, there's a Dunlap factory. There's, hand-cooked tires. There's a Walmart processing center over there. There's a ton of American companies on the Mexican side. So we get a ton. Any DVD that I've opened up recently on this side of America was made in Mexico. Because, yes, I still do buy DVDs.
Well, back onto the lumber thing. What bothers me about it is that these guys who transport the lumber are specialists. They drive specialized vehicles, and that's all they do. Now, what did COVID have to do with them? Nothing. The rails that take lumber, they've met all their schedules. They're running every day. I live next to the tracks. I haven't seen any interruptions.
I actually know someone.
They use specialty cars. It's not like they have to wait for something else to empty out or some guy to come and service it. No, they have the logs and lumber go by one type of or 2 different types of cars.
Well, what I have noticed with the freight trains is that they're still running every day, but the trains are not as large. They don't have as many cars. They're not carrying as much cargo.
Interesting. Very interesting. I've noticed that as well. There we have
we got mile and a half long trains with 3-4 locos on them.
Yeah, we get that here too. And that's what I've been noticing is, where it used to be a train that was, 50, 60 cars with 3 locos, it's now a train that's only 40 cars with 2 locos.
Excuse me. Do you think it's going to get worse, or is it going to get better?
Nerdy has the answer. It's all because of Brexit.
I blame Brexit, yes. Put it on the side of a bus. You'll believe anything. The reason I say that is because first world problems. My mom owns a beach house, and so I helped her go shopping for it yesterday. From last Thursday when we went shopping until yesterday, the prices have gone up on everything, and it was just weird to me, on meat, on bread, on everything. And I noticed this because I go to the store once or twice a week because I always forget something. And it's just ever since the beginning of the pandemic, it's just been getting higher. It'll go down, it'll dip, and then it just goes right back up.
That's why I'm having so much fun living on fixed income.
I just thought, and I say price gouging just as an emotional butthurt response, but I thought that there was a certain set that they can only go up by. It just seems like they are arbitrarily setting these prices. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a tightwad.
I hate how companies, and this has been going on my entire life. I started noticing it when I was a kid. To raise prices, they don't raise the prices. They don't have the balls to say, well, we're going to charge nickel more, whatever, for our item. They cut the volume of it. Pasta used to be sold in 16-ounce bags, period.
Mm-hmm.
The way it was now they're all 12-ounce. Toilet paper is like a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch narrower than it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, that's what they call downsizing. That they want to keep things at a certain price point. Like, they want to keep a product at being $2.99. They don't want to make it go over $3 because they think that will cause customer aversion. So instead of it being a 32-ounce bottle, it's now down to being a 28-ounce bottle.
But potato chips used to be 99 cents for a 1-pound box of them, which contained 2 bags. Now you go out and spend $4.20 for 9 ounces.
You're right. I made that mistake yesterday because I went to the store on prednisone and I was grabbing everything because it all looked good. You're right. When I definitely noticed from when I was a kid until now, you got what you paid for back then. Okay,
and Harmonica Man's saying about last year there were a lot of reports of dairies dumping milk or slaughtering animals.
Yes.
Okay,
a lot of that had to do with that they weren't able to get enough people to continue working to be taking care of all the animals.
No.
Also,
they were dumping product and killing animals because they can't charge enough wholesale dollars for their product to pay for owning the cows and creating the product.
Yeah.
That the milk pricing is so depressed that these guys, everything they do is at a loss. Everything.
Okay,
well, and a lot of that happened even before COVID.
Has lost 300 to 500 family farms a year for the last decade.
Okay, so Jenny, you are 100% right, and Purple, you are as well. And there was this.
Right? No.
There was this, or no, because we're all about to. We're all saying the same thing. There was this orange president who threatened China a bunch and literally brought the California cattle industry to its knees because we send China and Japan our beef. And so we're all right. Yeah. Like the industry, they were doing it here. They had to because they had nowhere to send the beef or the milk.
And one of the things that really suppressed the U.S. economy, and this directly hit the Midwest, was that when he got in that trade war with China, China, of course, stopped importing things from the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And China was our biggest buyer of soybeans.
California makes tons. It crippled California.
Well,
it did.
Soybeans were one of the U.S.'s biggest exports. And literally in 1 year, the amount we were able to sell overseas dropped by 20 or 30%.
Hold on, let me get this. I want to practice this. I've been waiting my whole life for this one. Hold on. Thanks, Trump. No, hold on. Thanks, Trump. They used to blame Obama for everything. Now we can start blaming Trump for everything.
Yeah, but I mean, that's especially hard on farmers when something political like that happens, that it changes the demand in a month or two, but farmers, of course, had to plant the stuff 6 months ago. So between the time they plant and the time they harvest, the price has dropped 30%.
Yep.
Grain elevators. You know, I have dozens of grain elevators around me. Every one of them is full.
Yep.
Because holding on to storage because of futures trading, and people waiting for a better price in 3 months or 6 months, or hoping that weather collapses so that the price goes up.
And what happened with Trump is the grain elevators were already full. So then the crop last year, they had no place to even store it.
Yeah. You city folk need to start thinking about this and realize that if your milk goes up $1 a gallon, that it's so people can stay alive. They're not just trying to rip you off. The farmers need to stay alive, just like you.
So here, our milk, it tells you what farm it comes from, just to let you know that you're buying it from actual people.
Oh, and Greg Hartwick got a point here. I hadn't really thought about this one, but yeah, with the schools closed, if the schools weren't ordering the milk for the students, that was certainly going to be a factor.
Yep.
That is true, because when I was a kid, there was something about the elementary school chocolate milk was the greatest thing on planet Earth.
Well, just it was about the only good thing about school, so
I don't know. I always liked the pizza in the cafeteria. It was for some reason really good, even though it was just the most horrible, cheap, gaggy stuff.
Okay, so can I ask you a question though? Was it made by somebody or was it pre-made?
No, it was made by somebody.
See, my school was as well, and that's why school lunches were just better back then, because regardless of the ingredients, there was a human being making it right then and there for you.
Yeah, 35 cents a day.
Oh, that's so funny. It was 50 cents in my day.
And we would skip lunch like for 3 days in a row. Hey, I got $1.
yep.
Oh fuck, $1.05 actually.
Now, see, for me, the schools got cheap, and even when I was in elementary school, to save costs on staffing, they'd gotten rid of actually having the kitchens do anything except for heating up basically TV dinners.
Oh, that is cheap. We got
well, that way, instead of having 5 or 6 people in the kitchen to cook, they had knocked it down to only 2.
And they're just warming up frozen shit.
Yep.
That was the when I went to high school, it was culture shock because they had like Taco Bell and Pizza Hut. That stuff will stop your heart.
They had that in the schools?
It was mini pizzas.
Yeah.
They'd make like 60 of them. Honestly, it's the same stuff you'd get at Costco, but it was in a Pizza Hut box.
Wait, there were vending machines in the school?
No, they'd have a vending cart.
Oh, okay.
Like they'd have a cart outside and a cafeteria. My school had 3,000 people or something insane, so they had to have different carts, and we had vending machines everywhere.
Actually, starting in the 90s, it got increasingly common for schools to be leasing out the cafeterias so that you would have actual fast food chains of McDonald's or Taco Bell as the school cafeteria.
Still to this day, I still eat double-decker tacos because of my high school. They're not even on the menu. You got to ask for them, but they'll make them for you and call you a dinosaur.
I always hated the spaghetti because by the time you got down to your table and sat down, the all the water separated out and everything on the plate was soaked with water.
Yep,
absolutely.
Ours was even worse because they gave it to you in those those cardboard plates, so it just soaked right through the bottom of the plate.
We had actual glass plates or ceramic plates.
We had those weird trays that I wouldn't be shocked if they were made out of asbestos. We had those, you know what I'm talking about? Those weird with the utensil slot on the side and everything. People didn't check back then to see what things were made out of.
Ours were just fiberglass And,
Yeah, pineapple is not a pizza
was to see
topping.
if you could steal one and take it home because it made great rolling trays for pot.
Does anybody remember back when McDonald's actually had the tiny little plastic spoons for stirring your coffee?
Oh, the cocaine spoons, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
That was the reason McDonald's discontinued that, because those had become the standard measurement for cocaine.
Yep.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it was true. I'm sorry to laugh.
If you
It
find
actually
one,
was, and that's why they just went, to just the stirring sticks then instead of the spoons.
Oh, that's awesome.
They are unbelievably valuable.
Really?
Collector wise.
I guarantee you, if I because I haven't even got to the rafters at my mom's house, I guarantee you there's probably one of those in there. That my dad was such a hoarder. I'm still finding stuff, and he's been dead for almost like a year and a half now. I guarantee you I'll find that. I
wonder what those would go for on eBay these days.
I just 2 days ago plugged in an Apple IIe printer, and it still worked.
Oh, and that an image writer one?
Yep. Still fired up. That thing said, "I'm ready for work." Is it? Are we in the future?
I used to have.
That's funny. The printer I got last year won't do that.
I used to have a wide bed image writer one printer. I could probably get $1,000 for that thing today.
That's why because I was all in my mom's garage, and she's like, "What the F are you doing, crazy person?" And I told her how much Apple IIes are worth, and she's like, "I think there's another one in the closet." She was like, "Oh, I want half."
Yeah, I used to have one of those Kodak printers that every time it powered up, it told you you need to replace the ink cartridge.
And to answer what Theo was saying about I'd be supersized in no time in the USA, yes. We put sugar and salt in all of our food, you would gain weight.
Yeah, well, that's why the US has the obesity epidemic.
I've been overseas, and I thought I was sick. It was just the fact that there wasn't I was eating real food. It's just the fact that there wasn't salt and sugar in everything. I was going through withdrawals.
And your system was trying to figure out what a vegetable was?
Yeah. Well, Mexico proved to me that I grew up eating homegrown vegetables because my parents just would grow food. My dad was kind of like a weirdo survivalist kind of. But when I went to Mexico, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is real food. Nothing was processed. Everything except for like the salt and was made. Everything." And these were people who lived in a house just like mine, but they lived on a ranch, but they really lived off the land. And so as an American, it was weird to me to see people like living in an American setting, but still have chickens and cows and a field, but still have the internet and nice cars. And
yeah, but did they have any Himalayan salt lamps? Talk about your pet rock of
I have so many there is so much dead technology in here where I'm like, why did they create this camera? Why did they make this? Or like I have all these HDMI to VHS cords. Like that was the craze back in the technology, and now that cord's kind of useless,
Yeah, and what Hans is saying here, this is what really pissed me off with that Kodak printer I had. If you didn't replace the ink cartridge, it would not let you scan a page. And why the fuck not? But the software was set up in such a way that it wouldn't get past that maintenance check.
Well, because they wanted to make some money.
Yeah, well, see, the thing specifically with the Kodak printers, they made a big deal about advertising how their printers, had cheaper ink cartridges and they used less ink to print 400 pages. What they didn't tell you is that each of the cartridges had a little chip in it that had a serial number. And it kept track of the date you installed it. So after like 3 months, it would tell you had to replace a cartridge, even if you hadn't used any of the ink from that cartridge, just the fact that it had been in the printer too long.
Wow. Somebody had to write that.
There was actually a lawsuit about that, and they did wind up paying out on that.
Oh, wow.
You know, the things may have changed with patents over the years, but I think Kodak still gets paid a certain amount of money, like 50 cents a buck, whatever, for every CCD chip that is made.
Really?
Yeah.
I have
into it, you know.
I was oh wow. Almost 15, 20 years ago, I was gifted a really over-ambitious first era digital camera that's a Kodak. It took so much power that after it took 5 batteries and after about 50 pictures it shuts off.
I used to have a Nikon Kodak digital camera that was like 0.5 megapixels, and you know, it was just a standard 35 millimeter camera, but its back was replaced with the sensors.
Mm-hmm.
And I came with an 8. Oh god, what was it? I think it was an 8 megabyte hard drive that was about a foot square and 20 pounds, and you had to wear that and carry it with you, and it did absolutely horrible imaging, but
you know,
it was cool.
Well,
you know,
I mean, if you want to get into storage capacity, with my Commodore 64, I had a hard drive for it, and they weren't very common. But it was actually a hard drive that was built into an IBM AT case. That was the size of it, so it took up your entire desk. And it was a whopping 20 megabyte hard drive.
Woohoo!
That's like when I look at my Sega. Let me look at my Sega.
My first hard drive was also 20 meg, and it was another one of those 1 foot square, 3-inch high steel cases, and it cost me $650. And it was so radical, so big at the time, that I actually said to myself, to a friend who was there with me, I don't think I will ever need any more storage than this for the rest of my life.
Because 640K ought to be enough for anybody.
Forever.
But you know, remember, you could get the entire system and Finder for an Apple Mac on one small size floppy disk, not even the 1.4 floppy.
Oh, Jenny, I voted for Ralph Nader. I will never make fun of you for that one. For that statement. I've made crazy decisions in my life as well and said crazy stuff.
Hey, does anybody have the time? Well, no, I have to go check my schedule.
Well, it's 1:15 here.
I still have to go check my schedule.
Oh, it's always right at the good part. You know, the one thing about sewing with sunglasses on is that when you make a mistake, it's not as Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I've never tried sewing with sunglasses.
It's weirdly bright in here. It gets weirdly bright. And so...
Well, that's your problem. You should avoid bright places.
It's that time of year where you can't avoid the sunshine in Southern California. But we've had weird weather this year. This is really not like characteristic of this place at all. Mm. But yeah, I'm finishing the front of this jacket that I've been dying to forever. I just haven't had the time to, and I just crossed my stitch, but I'm finishing this up.
Yeah, I also remember on the Commodore about using flippies, that the Commodore only had a single-sided floppy drive. But people discovered that, just because of production cost, it was easier for the companies to just be putting a double-sided disc into the sleeve most of the time. So you could buy a little thing that would punch out the notch on the other side of the disc, and you could physically turn the disc over and use the other side of it then.
Oh, that's awesome. The Jaguar was like that too. Do you know Iron Maiden started doing that on their CDs so you couldn't rip them off of the computers? Is what they would do is that you would back when you could steal music off your computer, you'd put an Iron Maiden CD in and it was a CD-ROM. So it would basically tell you like, ha ha ha, you can't rip us off, play this game, or
Yeah. Oh.
I forgot about that. I have a ton of those old Iron Maiden CDs. They were the first to be like, you are not gonna rip us off. But see, Iron Maiden, they weren't dicks about it like Metallica. Metallica were complete a-holes about it. They sued people's grandmothers. Like Metallica was out of control. Mm.
We're back to the canoe launch.
The shade came back.
Hold on one second, Perp. I want to show this off because it'll give me motivation to finish it.
Okay.
I just want to show this.
My one complaint about this part of the world is they don't seem to understand the concept of shade. Living in Milwaukee, every parking lot, every available space had trees on it so that there would be shady places to sit or park. And we're talking about city parks here and stuff. And that just isn't true here. They don't believe like in having trees next to the roadway or something.
We have massive parks here. And yes, Jeff, you're right. Mattel, they are the biggest a-holes on planet Earth. They literally sued little kids. But we have tons of parks here in LA. Massive plots of land that are just giant open parks.
Well, the thing about not having shade around parking lots and that, it's a maintenance cost thing. Living plants wind up just costing more for them to maintain than if they just pave everything.
It's a park. Parks have trees.
Yeah, but if they keep the trees away from the parking spaces, it's cheaper to maintain the parking spaces.
You know what I want to see is every ground level parking spot out there, that belongs to a college, a library, a hospital, a corporation, with 500 employees and a big parking lot for them. I want them to build shade canopies for all the cars that mostly keep the cars in the shade for the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
And for their roof have solar panels.
Okay, I agree with you. And if you use corrugated metal, it helps reflect the sun. So I 100% agree with you. That's actually a viable thing.
Well, it would be nice. And, for a lot of areas, if they put solar panels on them, then they could also be using those to recharge electric cars.
Oh, should I show? I actually have a solar unit that can power a cell phone. I'll show it off one day. Solar power is awesome. No, I didn't see that, Jeff. I did not. I live in a cave. The news has been depressing lately, so I've been watching old TV shows.
Oh, bullshit. If you lived in a cave, you wouldn't be wearing sunglasses. You just complained about being too bloody bright.
I'm at the front of the cave. It's my metaphorical cave where I ignore the world.
Well, he is fairly close to being an albino. Yeah.
That was I made a face mask that said albino. I loved that one. It was my first like crappy attempt at a face mask.
Now, see, I live in a literal cave. Going into my bedroom in the afternoon, Sloth Girl could not believe how dark I managed to keep it in there. But I mean, hell, for the number of times that I can't get to sleep before sunrise, I need that.
I scored on a bunch of blackout drapes, and so I have 3 or 4 layers of blackout drapes in my room. It's a vampire's dream. But I do that also to keep the heat down. Because depending on what side your room is facing, when it's 105 outside, it's literally baking your windows.
Yeah, in the summer I get that. For me, it's more in the winter. It's to keep the heat in.
Mm-hmm.
Because you lose most of the heat through the drafts around the windows, so I keep it pretty well sealed up.
I do it so that I can walk naked and masturbate anywhere in my house at any moment.
Well, that's the other thing. Since I'm on the ground floor, just walking around.
Okay, so full disclosure, this is actually a funny story. So we have new neighbors, and everyone, I have new neighbors behind me, like directly behind me. So, I'm a bit weird. If you haven't met me, godless sewing, I'm a bit strange. On the weekend, my son goes with his mother, and I go full bohemian. I'm in the backyard, watering in my birthday suit with a joint in my left hand, and in my right hand, I have an actual real spout that waters. So I'm walking around like a Roman statue, watering. I have these new neighbors. I get to the back fence, and they're eating dinner with their parents in their backyard. I know they can see me walking around, and they were so fucking quiet. I laughed. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, it's my house. This is where I live.
That's pretty funny.
But I've been trying to introduce myself for months, just so these people know that we're a bit strange around here. I'm not the only one. This is why you should get to know your neighbors. And yes, Theo, I do. This is why you should always, if your neighbor is trying to introduce themselves, you should say hi. Because one day they're going to be watering naked in their backyard, trying to get a tan and minding their own business, and you're going to be eating dinner with your parents. That literally happened on the weekend.
That's really, I don't get how you can be so brave. I mean, I'm naked in my house all the time, but that's because I'm the only one who lives there. I couldn't do it if anybody lived with me.
My neighbor on the side is a senior citizen who never goes outside except for when her family comes over. My other neighbor, they can't see me because I have a giant fruitless mulberry that and they have honeysuckle. I love their side because they have honeysuckle. There's trees over there. It's like a little forest on that side of the yard. On the other side, I have a fountain, and it's a little bit more open. And the person directly behind me, he allowed his house to completely dilapidate. He got a divorce and literally started living in his backyard. We had to call the city on him. He was having massive bonfires. If you know anything about Southern California, fires around here are a no.
Really?
Gee, I'm surprised after they bring less than half the state down.
So if you have some massive bonfire, I'm calling the fire department on your ass, and they show up with the cops. But So I've had trouble with that house, and then that house has been like basically they fixed it up and no one was there for all of COVID, so I got real comfy. I got real comfy because no one was back there, and I have a fountain I could sit in, and so now my neighbors know me.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be in a swimsuit in public. So
I compulsively work. Like Jen told me to. So in my stop cam, I put a really thirsty picture I took of myself 3 days ago in my backyard. I was wearing shorts, but she was like, "Oh no, you should put it up as your stop." I work out. And like I gained 40 pounds, so I got really self-conscious, and I've been working out. So I built myself up to have enough confidence, but that's only in my backyard. I wouldn't go walk around a nude beach. I would go like a full burkini. And I'm not kidding. I wear long sleeve when the sun's out.
Oh, well, I have lost 12 pounds in rehab already.
Awesome.
And I've only got 1,000 more to go.
You're not an excavator. You don't weigh 1,000.
800.
So yeah,
I lost 40 pounds, but it didn't really matter because I couldn't find anybody who could exchange the British money around here.
But a bump. That was terrible. Ooh, a monarch butterfly. First one of the year.
And plus I do a lot of that it's almost like confidence building, because you got to be comfortable with the skin you're in. That's one of my biggest themes about myself, at least, is that I'm stuck with me, so I better like me regardless of what anybody else thinks.
Well, yeah, it did quite a lot to build up my self-esteem that my fiance wanted me to be naked at home.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm saying. Someone appreciated your body. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and that was the first time in my life anything like that had happened. So, but yeah, then I got so comfortable with it that, it's kind of hard to go back the other way.
True.
I can't imagine somebody saying that to me. It's just
it was, quite a surprise to me as well.
Hold on, let me see if I have that picture in my stop cam. I do. This picture, I don't even know if I want to show it. That picture was taken in my back. I walked out my back door. I was sunning. I took that. I am 210 pounds. That was taken 3 days ago.
Looks pretty ripped.
One of the motivation killers for losing a large amount of weight, like I have to do, which, to be honest, if I want to get to my goal weight, I won't tell you my start and stop points because I'm too embarrassed, but I'm going to have to lose more than 150 pounds to accomplish it. Anyways, I'm going to have all this fucking excess skin that doesn't go away, and so you end up having lost all this fat, and you still look fat because you got all this skin.
Well, no, what happens is I know people that struggle with it. See, but the problem is I live in LA and everyone gets plastic surgery.
Yeah,
so people get it removed. They get it removed.
Yeah,
if you were to lose that much weight when you're in your 20s, early 20s, yes, it would probably eventually regress back to a normal situation, but not at my age.
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, I knew a woman who had the stomach surgery who had that problem, and yeah, that's if you wind up losing, like close to 100 pounds, you just wind up with a lot of extra skin, and pretty much, yeah, they've got to have it surgically removed.
Yeah, you lose the weight and you still look like shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, I'll put it.
she was a wonderful person, and all, but yeah, it really looked kind of weird with just all the extra flapping around.
This is the picture that I've been looking for forever. This is from now on. I am Godzilla Jesus. You will respect me.
All right.
I love this picture. I don't know why. I think it's the stupidest thing, but I love Godzilla. So when I found Godzilla Jesus, I typed in Godzilla Jesus on Google and was not disappointed.
Okay, and well, this started with Godzilla. It's something most Americans don't get. Probably most English speakers don't get, but in Japanese, the word for God or power is the same word. So it doesn't necessarily mean God the way Christians think of God. It just means something that's immensely powerful.
We're gonna get back into that thorny bush. What is a god?
Yeah, well, part of this came up with the Transformers toys because of the way they translated some of the names. So, one of the incarnations of Optimus Prime came out to be Optimus Prime with God armor. It actually translated to be the God Bomber.
We had something like that. It's called the Enola Gay. Joking.
Paul Tibbets.
That was a bad joke from the 1950s.
For those who don't know, the Enola Gay was the name that the pilot Paul Tibbets put on the B-29 that dropped the first nuke. It was his wife's name.
Really?
Oh, I didn't know it was his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, nerdy, you're wrong. We do all sorts of medical research on rodents.
Gladly, too.
Okay, no problem, Jeff. Pop on in. Did you need me to send you a link, or did you see one in one of the groups already?
Who, Scummer?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I haven't talked to Scummer in a long time.
No. I have
Fortunately, I don't remember the Bible Man tune.
I was reading that. What is the Bible? Now I'm intrigued. I have to look that
No. I don't remember it, and no one is going to remind me.
No, could we not talk about the Bible?
Oh, Jenny, you know where I stand. I'm so over it. I have a space helmet on. I am so over talking about the Bible. When I joined this club, I thought we were going to stop talking about those things.
Hey, with my bookshelf by subject, the Bible is up there next to King Arthur and Robin Hood.
Yeah.
That's where I put Jesus.
I have mine next to the fall of Rome. I have these really detailed books about the actual fall of Rome, not the fake out when Rome got sacked, but they still had Constantinople. But I put that with all the Bibles.
Yeah, I really haven't studied a lot about that period of history. So I kind of only have the Cliff Notes version.
And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, because as far as myself, I always say, as human beings, we look at history in moments when it's one continuous, like time never stops. It's just we do,
Okay, hacks.
I forget that people don't know what the Enola. I know everybody over a certain age will know what the Enola Gay. They taught us about that in school when I was a kid.
Yeah, but I think it was like sometime in the 80s that dropping nuclear bombs on civilians got to be un-PC.
That's true. That's like in LA, you knew you went to a bad school if they still had USSR in the books after a certain time.
Yeah, I spent most of my teen years trying to explain to people that USSR and Russia were not the same thing.
If you could scream till people are deaf to the ears, they're gonna they always make their conclusions, especially with propaganda, because we were still told to hate the Reds in my day. Flat out, like
with Putin in there, I don't see the difference.
No, I agree, but see, part of me is like I struggle because propaganda works. So I have the old programming of don't trust the Ruskies, Reds under the beds, but a lot of that was McCarthyism, just trying to scare Americans. Okay,
Yep.
But the Russians are doing cyber attacks on us. And the thing is, let's be real, we do this in other countries. It's just happening to us now. We've been doing this for a long time. So we can't necessarily claim innocence, but the Russians are doing to us what we do to other people, and we don't like it. Because we can sit here all day and every election we've undermined. Charlie Wilson in Afghanistan in the 80s,
Well, how can you say that the U.S. has interfered with other countries' elections?
Hold on, let me get my years right. What was it? 1979, Iran. That might ring a bell.
Or talk to anybody in Central America at all.
Yeah, I was going to say that this had something to do with where the term banana republic came from.
Oh, that's so
that
bothersome.
Basically, the U.S. installed every government in Central America in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, and the sad thing is we kind of have a universal language because of it down here. It's weird. It's so weird to me how that's a different story for a different day. But yeah, that's
and what are we going to do when all the bananas are dead?
Ray Comfort's gonna scream. What did Charlton Heston? Damn, what did Charlton Heston say at the end of Planet of the Apes, Jenny? Well, damn it, you.
They did it. They finally did it.
Ray Comfort's gonna be on his knees. They finally did it. They killed the bananas.
Yeah, well, the political parties in the U.S. are trying to interfere with our elections. And then basically it becomes a screaming contest of, we cheated, but we didn't do it well enough.
Here's my say that how can you say that way? The political parties are trying to fuck with our election. No, there's only one party that is trying to fuck with our elections. and they're called Republicans.
Okay.
They're literally redistricting.
The Democrats are not some great godlike thing, but they're not fucking with our elections to try to disenfranchise people and to steal.
Exactly.
The Democrats are not trying to change the laws, but gerrymandering has always happened regardless of which party was in power.
No, I agree, but Purple, like, the Democrats just want your tax money. Okay, the Republicans want to kill you.
Yeah,
the Republicans want everybody to conform to their image of their Puritan, goddamn fucking background, to live the way they say you should, when they say you should, and they want an authoritarian fascist state
again
with theocratic laws.
Hey Jeff.
Remember,
to be honest, I don't think the Republican Party really gives a shit about the theocracy. It's just a
baloney,
way that they
baloney.
can drum up the evangelical vote.
Baloney. You look at every one of the judges that they have put into office and check their backgrounds. You'll find that a sizable number of them are theocrats who actually believe in the Bible becoming the law of the land.
No, they do.
They are very open about the theocrats in the right wing. They love them.
Hey, Jeff, I love your coat. I love your coat.
Hey, am I coming through okay? I'm not sure what my reception's like here.
No, you look good.
Yeah, you're okay.
Cool. Okay. So I'm out at a bar at my local pub right now. The pubs have reopened. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Heck yeah. I love your coat.
Yeah, that looks like a flight jacket from Battlestar Galactica.
Absolutely. That thing is epic.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Geez, Jeff, this is the first time I've ever seen your face not in shadows. But now we only see the bottom half of it.
He's having a good time at the pub. They're finally open. They're going to start reopening up everything here pretty soon, too. I want to go see a movie. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to go have a sit-down breakfast.
Yeah, they're going to be reopening everything here too. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm scared because their thing of saying that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask is just giving everyone permission to go out without masks because you can't tell who's vaccinated.
It's already happening here, and it's weird. And because, you know, my knee-jerk reaction is to tell someone, hey, put an effing mask on. And now I can't anymore because the law is going to be rescinded.
Yeah. So, you know, you're going to have all the people who are anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers who are unvaccinated, not wearing masks, running around everywhere. And all they're going to do is keep breeding new strains until they come up with one that the vaccine isn't effective against, and we'll be set right back to where we were last year.
Exactly.
Get rid of any of my masks.
No, I'm still wearing a mask every time I go in the stores.
Nerdy, you might get what you I want everyone to be on lockdown. You might get that again, Nerdy, if this goes south. Especially here in LA, I have a bad feeling about the reopening, but I've become a real life agoraphobe because I enjoy not having to deal with people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you know, I definitely have to. What? I definitely have to say that the lockdown did not affect me nearly as much as it did most people. In fact, I rather enjoyed it because it meant there were fewer people out there. You know, and yeah, I'm quite happy to stay locked up in my house and, you know, just not go out.
If it does go bad again, that we're going to end up with the same response from the anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers as we had this time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all going to be about government control. They're not going to believe any of it's real.
Yes, because people are stupid and they don't believe anything anymore. So how can you can't stop that kind of stupidity. You know, you can't fight against blind ignorance like that.
Oh, and Ox, the vaccine cards don't mean anything either because people are selling, you know, counterfeit vaccine cards online.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah, basically some people have started just like blanking out their information on their vaccine card and photocopying it and selling copies. So you can buy a card that says you're vaccinated and fill in your own name. Yeah, part of the reason I like the mask is being autistic. My facial expressions often aren't what people expect them to be. So I actually do better if people aren't trying to read my expressions.
The one cool thing is, though, is that I got this super gay Trolls mask for 50 cents. Because they're starting, all the prices are going down because they think people are going to stop wearing masks.
Well, yeah, and now it's like places are stocked to the rafters with hand sanitizer. Excuse me. But,
I'll be right back.
you know, because now they're working so hard to produce all the extra hand sanitizer, the factories aren't making the regular liquid hand soap. So I'm having a bitch of a time just finding a bottle of hand soap.
It's so funny you'd say that. I had to go to Costco and get a tub to get an actual. So now I have like 2 gallons of hand soap because I couldn't find the old dispensers, and we have dollar stores here. They're gone. I mean, their soap, their entire hand soap things are gone.
Yeah, well, same here. And it's like, you know, I was just trying to buy one of the bigger bottles just to refill all the dispensers I already have. You know, and just like trying to find like a quarter or a half-gallon bottle, I had to go to 4 different stores to find one bottle.
Oh yeah. Do you shop at the Dollar Tree?
Yeah.
I do too. I shop at the 99-cent store. Jeff, do you guys have a pound shop there? Like pound shops where everything's $1?
Not often, no. Yeah, we got them, but I don't often shop in them.
Here in America,
Am I
they're
coming
like,
through okay, by the way, guys? Because I'm not sure about my reception.
Yeah, you know, your video resolution's a bit lower, but other than that, you look fine.
Yeah. I like our 99-cent store because it has the most.
Okay. I just wondered how I'm sounding because.
I think we got a bit of an echo from you, but other than that, you know, it's not bad enough to really be a problem.
No, you sound decent. You can hear you.
Shit. Yeah, you guys. Occasionally you guys break up on me, so I'm not in a great reception spot. That's all, sir.
Pound land, pound stretcher, pound world. I like the dollar stores around here just because there's certain things that I have completely been devalued because I know that they're $1 now. So when I go to the store, I won't buy them. And I'll just go to the dollar store and buy it for $1.
Yeah, well, you know, and that's the thing, that there's a lot of stuff, you know, especially with the U.S. mentality, that they make everything to be disposable anyway. So if you know you're only going to use it once or twice, then throw it away. Why pay more than $1 for it?
Oh, that's paint supplies. I am that guy. I will go to the dollar store and get like 50 paintbrushes, 60 rollers, because I can trash them. If I drop it up a roof, I'm not mad, you know.
I will warn people, painting supplies from the dollar store, you know, obviously they're a cheaper grade. So, like, if you want a real nice finished product, they're not going to do it.
You got to check the brushes because the brushes do shed. Yeah,
the brushes will tend to lose their hairs, and the foam rollers will tend to come apart in the paint, you know, after a while. So if you're doing a project of any size, they'll start to come apart, and you'll have little bits of the foam stuck in the paint all over the place.
You're not lying, because I painted a whole house with the cheapies, and I could always tell when I got down to those because I would start streaking. Yeah, but you know, like, I'll use the dollar store stuff, you know, like to do the primer and the undercoat on stuff, you know, where I know I'm going to sand it between coats, and then I'll put on the finished coat with something better. I have a paint gun, so it completely spoiled me. Because when I had to start doing hand painting again, I'm like, oh, this is hard work. Because when you're painting with a paint gun, you could spend 3 days tarping, but then you're painting for an hour and a half and you're done. That's the problem. The paint guns are fine if you're doing a huge project, but you spend so much prep time with them that if it's not a huge project, you spend more time taping everything off than you would have if you just painted it. I did if
I brush or roll. Of course, I'm really bad at it, so.
I called it a Brady Bunch house, but it was my grandma's old house. It was huge. It was 5-bedroom house. She had a bar in the house. It was Brady Bunch. It took me 3 or 4 days just to tape it. just the tape and tarp everything, so I didn't get the floor, the carpet. I had to cover the chandeliers. It was an event, and then it only took me a couple hours to paint the whole house. Anyway, it was extremely anticlimactic because I'd spent all this time, taping this giant house.
Like the Mr. Bean episode where he, covers everything with newspapers and tape and then just sets off a stick of dynamite in a can of paint in the middle of the room.
Yeah, those were ingenious. Those old sketches were genius.
Mythbusters did that for real. It doesn't work.
Okay, so because of Mythbusters, I know that you cannot hide behind a car in a gunfight. Not even a Lincoln will take a bullet, but you'll still get shot.
Yeah.
I know that you can put sugar in a gas tank and a car will still run. It's bleach that destroys a car. I learned that if you're going to make anything explode, you need to build a concrete cage.
Yep.
I learned a lot of stuff from the Mythbusters.
And that a puddle of gasoline will not explode by dropping a match in it. Okay,
so it's the vapors that are explosive, and I've watched this video so many times by Neil deGrasse Tyson, I should be able to explain it, but I won't. But it's the actual vapors that are explosive.
Yep. Well, yeah, the liquid won't explode because it has to be oxygenated in order for it to ignite.
No, it just has to be mixed at a ratio of about 14-1 with the atmosphere.
Neil deGrasse Tyson recently did a video about it, but I am always so ripped and stoned by the time I watch it. Oh, they're having fun at the pub. I'm kind of jealous. Everybody sounds like they're having fun over there.
Yeah, I was never a big one for going out to eat anyway, because restaurants tend to be, crowded and loud. So, the only thing I really liked was going out to the buffets or when they had some kind of an all-you-can-eat special.
So that brings me to another question. Is like Golden Corral and Hometown Buffet, are those going to be open? Like, how are they going to do that?
Oh, I expect they'll be opening in the next month or so.
You have China Buffet there?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah, we do.
I like China Buffet.
Me too. You're making me hungry. It's almost lunchtime around here.
Yeah, we don't have the actual China Buffet. We've got one, I think it's called China Star, that was pretty good.
I always like to try a independent Chinese restaurant before I go to China Buffet or something. Because I know it's corporate, and although it is an own franchise and some families making money off it. Anyways, I went to this one in La Crosse, and it was just awful. It made Panda Express look tasty. It was just bleh.
Now I'm craving Chinese food.
Mugu Gaipan.
We have the sad thing about business is like a lot of businesses have gone out of business, and there's a lot of new restaurants around here.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be the biggest impact of the pandemic is, of course, the corporate places are going to survive, but it's going to be the family-owned and the mom-and-pop businesses that are going to be lost.
Exactly. And we have this, just these weird chains I've never heard of are moving in here. And a lot are aimed towards Hispanic people because everybody eats Mexican food here.
I hope you get a Culver's.
What's that?
I hope you get a Culver's one day.
We got an Aldi and no one knew what to do. People are like...
You can have our Culver's. It's not any good anymore. It's been real disappointing.
It must be the one specifically by you, because the one here is just great.
Oh,
well, some of it's their pre-prep stuff, though, because they used to have decent fish, and the fish and the chicken sandwiches, not good anymore.
I will complain about their fish. The breading they used on their fish fry used to be really light and crispy, and now it's still light and crispy, but it is just oil soaked to the point where if you leave it on the plate, it will soak wet, get itself wet in its own oil, and get soft and not crunchy. It's pretty unappetizing.
Yeah. Well,
So-
it's that, and I think they're skimping more on the seasonings.
So on my local AMC, because I'm a dinosaur and I have television, earlier they were showing Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Now they have Invasion of the Astro Monster. At 12:30, the Invisible Boy is going to be on. I know what I'm going to be doing all day. Snow Devils is on it too. Body Snatcher from Hell. Oh, and then To Kill a Mockingbird is on at 5. That makes me cry.
I love old 1950s sci-fi. They are so bad.
They are so bad. I saw a plate floating on my TV, and I'm like, "Ooh, it's 1950s sci-fi. I have to watch this." I have
dials and controls in the rocket ship that look like something that came off of a cruise ship. You know.
The one thing I like, though, my pops used to always say this, like, in the first Star Trek, it was just a bunch of lights and widgets, you know? In the Next Generation, nothing worked. They were literally just tapping on screens that had lights that were just flashing back and forth, you know? At least in the old one, they had buttons.
The computers that were used on Lost in Space were then recycled and used on the Time Machine. What's that other? Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Yeah.
The Land of the Giants. Irwin Allen was known for his cheapskateness and would just keep recycling props over and over and over again.
Well,
he'd paint a monster different and use it in the next scene. Oh man, his stuff is so horrible.
Well, something that had a huge number of recycled props that I'm surprised I virtually never hear this mentioned with the number of fans. But the original Battlestar Galactica, if you look at the scenes from where they're showing, like a wide view of the fleet, they really didn't produce any of their own ships. Those are all model kits from previous movies.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's hilarious.
I would love to get a chance to see that.
Yeah, in the original Battlestar Galactica, their aggro ship is from Silent Running.
Oh, really?
Blake 7 does that too. Every time they show a planet, it's the pictures that the Apollo astronauts took from the moon.
Yeah, well, the BBC did a lot of that.
That's not a new thing that Hollywood has just started to do. And here's the proof. We've all seen Orson Welles' Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Yes, a million times.
The sky from the picnic scene is the sky from King Kong. It was a matte,
really,
and they reused it for it. Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. Save money on that. Yeah, I remember Time Tunnel.
Oh yeah. Time Tunnel. Yeah.
How come that's the one show I don't know? I have to Google that now. That's the one damn show I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
I probably do. See, where's my other phone?
Tony and Doug Lost in Time.
Is that what those weird?
End up with somebody famous and make sure history goes the right way and crap like that.
No, I think you're thinking of a different one. You're thinking of a more recent one. Time Tunnel was back from the 60s.
James Darren, Robert Colbert.
Watch Time Tunnel every week on local at 3-4 a.m. on Saturday night. Excuse me.
Yeah.
They just started the series over. They just went on the Titanic again.
Robert Colbert. Okay. I have seen every Western Robert Colbert's been in. I didn't know he was. Oh, well, that's funny.
One of the great things about Time Tunnel, huge spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen a 80-year-old show here, But when they realized they were doing the final episode, the final scene of the final episode, if you look at it, they reused the scene from the first episode. So the final episode, the tunnel is opening back to their destination in the first episode. So you can see that they're just going to keep repeating the same cycle infinitely.
Oh, that's hilarious.
What was
And now-
what was the last episode?
I don't quite remember. I just remember that last shot.
I mean, it didn't have a conclusion because it was just canceled.
No, but when they realized it was going to be canceled, they were able to splice in that scene from the first episode.
And you don't remember the topic of that episode? God, I would love to see that. I saw a episode of The Rifleman that I saw brand new when I was a kid that just scared the fuck out of me. And it's something I've had bad dreams about ever since then. Well, I got to see it last week, and it turns out it was a 2-part Rifleman, that 1.5 hour, and then had the second half hour to get the whole story. And now I'm not scared, and I haven't had the dream since I saw it.
So I agree with you because Hellraiser, anything about hell scared me. Like the movie Event Horizon, to think that hell was in a different dimension and not just some made up shit. Like I was in the theater like, uh-oh, they did math on hell. Like I was scared. And then I watched it as an adult and I'm like, this is an awesome movie. It's not scary. It's just a great movie, And I was scared of Hellraiser as well. And as an adult, I went back and watched it. I said, this is the cheesiest movie I've ever seen in my life.
See, as a pagan, that was kind of the model of the universe I was subscribing to, was that, this was before Stargate came out, but that kind of idea that all the different mythologies and that were just like different planes of existence or different dimensions all coexisting.
Exactly.
This one hasn't given me any long-term hanger-ons since I saw it. But it scared the hell out of me as a kid when I saw it. And I think it was just called The Vikings, and it had Ernest Borgnine on it. In it. And it was just the Vikings were just really scary dudes. Oh,
Alexa,
no, I think this guy's about to
how many movies did Ernest Borgnine make?
Can you guys see that pontoon boat? He's kind of aiming at a sandbar. He might get stuck.
Thank you. Alexa, thank you. What's that? Oh, wow.
Yep.
Oh, look at the bird. Ernest Borgnine was in 82 movies. And yes, Jeff, Event Horizon was terrifying to me. When I saw it, I was like, hell's in a different dimension. I'm so effed.
Forbidden Planet scared me the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
That nasty monster was just devastatingly frightening.
Yep. Yeah, when I was a preteen, that one scared me.
I wanted to be Anne Francis.
There's this really cheesy...
And we were talking about that one last week as far as them reusing props, about how many other shows and movies did Robbie the Robot appear in after that.
Well, he was in a lot, but the Lost in Space B9, I don't think was ever used anywhere. There's a big, I'm going to call it a guild of fans of the B9 robot who build copies of it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they want them to work. And the guy who was the voice for it, I don't know if he's still alive, but at one point was recording custom speech for it for you to program into it with your tape recorder or however you did it. So it would say what in the robot voice, the things that you wanted to say. That's kind of cool. And there was a whole market. People were making parts. You know, one guy would make the accordion boots, and somebody else would make the globe, little flat pancake globe thing on its head. And
Yep.
it was neat. I was considering building one just because I always was a fan of it too. But nah.
I'd seen several remote control versions of it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Jeff knows what's up. My friend, when back in the day, we would come together every week and watch Airwolf.
Yep.
Because we were cheesy. All the 80s were such cheesy, just dripping cheese of time.
Jan Michael Vincent.
I miss those times.
The problem with Lost in Space Robot with the remote control ones is there wasn't any way to control the arms. You couldn't actually get it to pick anything up with those arms.
Well, that makes sense. I imagine it'd be a lot easier building those things now with 3D printers available.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and people have full knowledge of how to make robots, more human-like. So robots are scary. I
think that's their problem, that they try to make them too human. And there have been decades of psychological studies on this, that making the robots look too human puts people off.
I've seen Osimo in person, and Osimo's kind of scary. Like, I would rather have a freakish looking robot than one that's eye to eye with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been to a zoo, walked up to the great ape cage, and been like, this thing can smash me? This thing is so much bigger than me. It is so much more powerful. If there wasn't a cage here, it would literally have me in its grips,
Yeah, and Greg, this is something I've learned, that there's a lot of shows I liked that I don't want to rewatch, because I made the mistake of doing that with some, especially the original Transformers, and found out it was a much better memory than it was a TV show. That you tend to forget how many bad episodes there were.
I want to test people's ancient TV shows knowledge. Did anybody watch Highway Patrol with Broderick Crawford?
Oof.
I don't remember that one.
So, Jenny, because I grew up with people that were from the old world, yes, because my dad was born in 1938 or 9, like, my parents were always watching black and whites and all the old shows.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How about the show The Whirlybirds?
No.
Okay, it was about a couple of helicopter guys.
Yeah, Whirlybirds sounds vaguely familiar.
I watched a ton of Emergency.
How about 77 Sunset Strip?
Oof.
Lewis
see, now you got me. Now I'm going to start.
How about Route 66?
So, Nerdy Rodent, I've met Caitlyn Jenner. She was holding me in a picture. I'm going to find that picture. I'm going to stop talking about it. I have thousands of pictures to go through. I have a picture of Caitlyn Jenner and myself.
The one of the guys, two guys, in George Maharis, and I forget his name, but he was the Officer Malloy in Adam 12.
Oh, awesome. My mom was obsessed with Adam 12, Emergency, and the revised version of Battlestar Galactica when they came to Earth. Because she was in love with...
12 was the first series that Mark Harmon ever appeared on. He played a confused college-age youngster with drug issues. He was on Colbert, and that episode, I'm a fan, Mark Harmon fan, I'll admit this, was on YouTube, and they don't get usually too many comments on their stuff, so I just put a comment that I remember seeing, Mark Harmon, I remember seeing your first appearance on TV on Adam 12. Well, son of a bitch wrote me back.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, holy cow, my hero.
That's awesome. That puts a smile on my face, because they film all of his shows out here, all those weird CSI shows, and not one person has ever called Mark Harmon an a-hole. Every person I know is like, nah, he's just a dude. He's just a normal dude. Oh, Jeff, you had to bring up the A-Team. I have another picture of me with
George Papard. I love George Papard.
With me with Mr. T. I have to find that picture. Obviously
Benedict, George Papard, and that idiot.
Okay, so I love Dwight Schultz because he was in Star Trek as well. I loved Murdoch. Murdoch's character, you know, they needed the crazy person. Oh, now you're bringing me back.
Okay, what is a zimbalist? That sounds like it should be a profession.
Or a language I don't speak.
Ephraim Zimbalist was in 77 Sunset Strip. He was later Inspector Erskine Agent Erskine in the FBI, a Quinn Martin production.
Oh, wow.
And his daughter, Stephanie, was the woman who in what was the first name of the character? I can't remember. Steel. Pierce Brosnan was the Steel character who was a criminal that was now a detective solving crimes with her. So that's where Zimbalist comes from. I apologize.
No, I was wondering where the name came from, and according to Wikipedia, it is one who plays a cymbalom, which was a traditional string instrument from Eastern Europe.
Wow.
Zimbalist is spelled Zimbalist.
Right. Although it says it was originally spelled TS instead of the Z.
All right, so now that
and then it goes into the list of actors.
So I'm gonna say a line, Jenny, and I want you to know. I want to see if you know this. No brag, just facts.
Well, that's from the A-Team.
No, it's Walter Brennan.
Oh, the McCoys, the real McCoys.
I love that damn shit.
No, that's not true. No,
the guns of Will Sonnet.
Yes,
I fucking
okay, and that's another weird phrase. Everybody says the real McCoy. How many imitation McCoys were there?
I don't know, but that was the name of the show. Was mom and what was the kid's name? And Timmy, he played. No, wait, no, that's wrong. That was Timmy.
We're gonna need another Timmy.
Walter Brennan had some of the greatest lines in movie history. In The Sons of Kate Elder, John Wayne looks at the dude and he's like, "I won't shoot you, but old Stumpy will." And Walter Brennan comes out and he just giggles. Walter Brennan was born. He was born old.
Yes.
He was born old. He was one of those people that he looked old when he was young.
Yeah. I think Sons of Katie Elder was my favorite John Wayne Western.
I love that movie. I watch it when I'm having a bad day. Like, I love that movie.
The TV series Lassie.
Oh, I watched that too.
One particular episode got me interested and eventually into photography, and I've done it my whole life since. It was an incident where Timmy was flying a kite and he had a camera attached to it. The lightning hit a building and started a barn and started on fire, but they blamed Timmy's kite for causing the fire because it got caught in the power cables or something. But he said, no, that's not it. And he developed this film in the bathtub of his house. Of course, it was perfectly light. They didn't simulate it as a darkroom at all. But nonetheless, he developed these pictures and had a print of the lightning actually hitting the barn. and the day was saved. But it fascinated me that you could develop your own pictures. And I got into it after that.
Yeah. Jeff was saying that Pierce Brosnan had to turn down the role of James Bond because he was contracted for Remington Steele.
That's it, Remington Steele.
Yeah. Another bit of movie trivia that a lot of people aren't aware of is for Back to the Future. They had actually wanted to cast Matthew Broderick, but he was already contracted to another project when they wanted to start filming.
Oh,
Really?
you would have been.
That would've been all-
Do you think that series would have been at all the same with him in there?
No, and I call myself Marty McFly, so I'm offended that he was even considered. I identify with Michael J. Fox.
Matthew Broderick is a far superior actor.
I know, but I grew up with Michael P. Keaton. I am
Yeah,
biased. I am biased with Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
I hated his character on that TV show.
He was the annoying Republican in a lefty family.
Yeah.
It
With his
is
lesbian
super. Yeah, exactly. those shows, like
But you were supposed to hate him. He was the antagonist for most of the episodes.
Exactly.
He succeeded. The writers
Yep.
succeeded.
We used to call my brother Michael P. Keaton because he went through a phase, and I'll never forget my brother. My dad told him like enjoy your BS Republican phase. But to my brother's credit, he married well, so he still is a Republican.
Actually, I love.
No. Michael J. Fox is not a Republican.
No, I'm talking about my brother Michael. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I have
I met Michael J. Fox in 2004. I was covering the presidential campaign for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, and photography for them. And Michael J. Fox was on the cardboard chicken circuit for the party. And
Oh, wow.
he came to town and did a few speeches and handshakes, and that's where I got to meet him. It was just one of those moments, celebrity bullshit things. But
well,
do you know why?
And
his
he's
autobiography is really great, and you really should check out his autobiography. But he says in there that when they were doing Family Ties, that he was actually going down that path, that he got way too full of himself, and he would have actually turned out like that in real life, except that the woman he eventually married was cast as being a character on the show.
Tracy Pullen.
Yeah. And that she was the first one to actually challenge him for his bullshit, and that's why he married her.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
She's a total babe.
Yeah,
You know what?
She was the only one on the show who would point out that he was being an asshole to other people.
Like, hey, you're being a douche. Do you know Kirk Cameron could have used that, and maybe he wouldn't have ended up a fundy Christian. That's another show I used to watch that got real weird.
Dick.
Yeah, you you could go back and look, and you can see like the pre-Christian show was amazing. When they started getting the weird Christian morals, the show went downhill and it got canceled. And then shows with the same premise who just didn't have Christian, didn't have Christian morals in it thrived. So Kirk Cameron destroyed his own career.
I can't stand Tim Allen.
Okay, so fun fact: Tim Allen snitched on a bunch of people in prison and got out of prison. He was in prison. I don't want to say for life, but he snitched on a bunch of people.
Really?
Yes.
Well, it's perfect with my despisement of him.
Let me look it up. In the 60s or 70s or something. Let me look it up though, because I've said I don't want to misquote here on the Purple Rhymes with Orange show. For drug trafficking, and he got released for snitching.
Yeah, I knew he was in there for something related to drugs.
He was going to get a bunch of time, and he told on everybody. Where I'm from, they give you concrete boots. If you, I've never respected Tim Al. I'm conflicted because he went full Trumper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer's a Trumper. It's really sad how many Hollywood people that I used to like have gone Trump.
Quite a few rappers.
Really?
Ice Cube. Well, these people have more money than the president. They got to respect their. Ice Cube endorsed Donald Trump, and people lost their shit. They lost it. And there's a bunch of really rich black people that supported Trump.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, that rich people do vote based on their economics.
Mm-hmm. Because they can afford to go move somewhere else if things get bad.
Yep.
So I was Ice Cube, and if you really think about it, Ice Cube literally made a song called "F the Police." You know?
Yeah. God, I'm sad. I really used to like him.
Well, Jenny, you should come down this Thursday to the Sewing Circle. I think we're going to be talking about this and this guy named Kwame Brown, who's recently lost his mind. He's a young black man who's probably 39 or 40 years old. He had a 20-something career in basketball. He has severe mental health issues. He basically was a bust. Do you know what a bust is?
A failure?
Yes, and it's not rare in the NBA. Just because you're 6'9" doesn't mean you can play basketball.
Right.
You know? But he wasn't that bad. But his whole career, he was kind of called terrible by newscasters.
Yeah, didn't he hook up with the Kardashians?
No. This is Chris Humphries actually was a smart man. He left. Yeah, he's the smart one.
Yeah, he bailed.
So Kwame Brown has basically lost his damn mind. He started a YouTube channel. I think he has 238,000 subscribers, I think. Let's see. But basically he's exposing 242,000 subscribers. He's exposing how America exploits young, poor people. Let's not even bring race into it right now, okay? How America takes poor people, gives them promises, gives them a bunch of money, and with no training whatsoever, and they throws them out in the world, you know? Or how in sports we exploit children. We send grown men to hang around 17-year-olds at colleges. That's grooming. In this country, we have a whole system of young men that are basically groomed. It's happening to my nephew right now. He plays for Cal. His mom is broke. She would have never been afforded to send him to college. He got a full ride to Cal because he's 6'8" and he's 17 years old. You know, our system is sad. He would have never gotten a college education if he was my size.
Herb, what time is it?
2:30, almost 2:30.
Okay, thank you.
So this Thursday, we're going to be talking about the exploitation of sports. I'm going to try to take race out of it, but with me, it always ends up with race. But because I grew up in a more integrated, I have a different view. So,
we're going to conversation. But I understand exactly what you're saying, and I do not disagree one.
But my problem is, here's my beef. He's anti-LGBTQIA plus, and he keeps on calling a man Becky with the good hair, which is which is an insult. Like when you say Becky with the good hair, you're calling someone half white.
Yep.
And they act white. Becky is basically you are white or you act white or you married a white woman. And he's like, for an insult, he calls people light skin, like, oh, you're a light skin. He is, again, another person who is coming with 1950s arguments, you know?
Dude,
and I'm gonna say something.
70s, that was just called the gray.
But in the 90s, there was this revamp of, like, all the comedians. There was this weird thing where it was, like, if you were a certain color, you had to talk trash about the other color. So, that whole light skin, dark skin thing is just annoying. and so when someone like that's bringing it back, I'm like, no, we need to hit the brakes on this right now, because these are just old arguments being recycled because they sound, they're catchy, but they're just the same old boring arguments, But this guy's a train wreck, and I have a feeling if I put his name in a live stream, I'll get thousands of trolls. So Jen and I have been talking about maybe not doing it or just renaming the stream. Because when he live streams, he'll have 30,000 people watching because he talks so much trash.
Well, how bad do you want in some numbers? Are you monetized?
I don't care about stuff like that. I'm not here to be famous. I'm here to hang out with you guys. I don't care how many people are watching.
Yeah,
I'm happy with
you do it.
I'm happy with my girlfriend, I need to start making how-to videos though, because I sew all the time. How's it going, Sandy?
Hey, Sandy.
But you're right. And that's why Jen was like, you can do it on your channel. And I'm like, yeah, because I would never willingly bring homophobes to Jen's channel. I would,
Well, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, because they'll troll her forever. Because these are people with very archaic beliefs. And I'm going to say something else. I'm shocked at the numbers that this guy's pulling, but people are getting conservative and weird, and they're insecure. Really.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to go off on a new topic.
Oh no, just anti-LGBT sentiment. It needs to be, headed off at the pass, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't they just leave us alone?
I've been
asking for the most part, that's pretty much what most people in minority communities want, is if people would just leave them alone and treat them like everyone else.
I think what happens too is that this person is looked up upon, and he's punching down so much I don't even understand it anymore. We have allowed everyday insecurities to you know why? It's because we live in the information era where anybody who can gather an audience can speak, so it's just his anti-LGBT sentiments are scaring me of how okay it's becoming again, and that's the problem.
And because anyone at all can have a channel, that makes it so easy for the cognitive dissidents that anyone can find channels that will confirm what they already want to believe, regardless of how fanatic their beliefs are.
And the problem is that this human being was abused by the system. They were mentally abused, but that still does not give you the right to take it out on another community, And now this person has a huge voice, and they're quite literally punching to a community that had nothing to do with them. Yep. And when he lived in LA, he was treated with complete peace. So I just don't understand the utter and complete hatred for the community. But I always feel that it's an insecurity. So when someone's outwardly projecting something, that's because they're scared of it,
Boy, I wrote a nasty fucking tweet to Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, this morning.
What did that train wreck do?
I just let go on it. It was like a 4 or 5 part tweet. I can't possibly capture it here.
Oh, I think I saw that. When I see them, I literally skate right past those people. They're so bad for my blood pressure. I'm serious. That's Trump. Actually, Trump being out of office has helped my health. I've noticed my heart doesn't jump every time I see breaking news.
I realized I found out within the last month that this Governor Abbott is in a wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
And I suddenly felt guilty for all these nasty emails and shit I've written him. But then I realized, hey, wait a minute. I didn't know he was in a wheelchair. I didn't know he was in a wheelchair. Hated him and said nasty things. Why can't I continue just because I know he's in a wheelchair?
Doesn't give him the right.
So, fuck him.
Yeah, just because he's in a wheelchair does not mean he's still not a disgusting person.
He gets the same shit anyways. Yep, that's what I decided.
Yeah. You know, because you were attacking his character, not his legs, so it doesn't make a difference.
Quite honestly, in a format like this where none of us are like face to face, it doesn't matter if we walk or not. It matters what our opinions are.
Right.
When I write something like that, I wrote to Abbott, I hope that they respond to me. I would love to go toe to toe with these motherfuckers. I would rip them a new asshole every time.
But that's why I kind of want to call out that guy for the same reason. For the exact same reason. Like, I look at him kind of as a pea brain. Like, I would tear him apart in a conversation. Part of me wants to call him out to be like, hey, the community's okay. You're the one who's not okay, bud. Get help.
I'm okay, you're okay, but the guy with the trumpet's got to go.
I just don't get the new wave of anti-LGBTQIA plus insecurity, hatred, laws, bills, and everything else they can do to push us back into the dark ages, literally.
Well, it's all the Puritanism. It's people like their Puritans for some reason.
I just want to be able to water naked in my backyard.
Realize that this is a Puritan nation. That the first people that came over to establish America, were the Puritans, and
that stain
came
and
to
that
settle this continent.
That wipe of a stain is still on us.
Puritans, and they did it because they saw the opportunity for freedom. Because everybody in fucking England hated their guts for being fucking Puritans.
Well, and they didn't come over here for freedom from religion. They came over here because they could impose their religion in establishing new colonies.
Well, yes, and they were being persecuted, and rightly so. They're Puritans.
Yeah, and they came here to persecute other people.
Right. They figured they could come here and they would be in the majority so that they could control how the government ran.
Yeah, the tolerance of tolerance is suicide.
Yeah. But that's the human cycle. Oh, I don't like what they're doing to me, so I'm going to go somewhere else and emulate the very people that I don't like. That will never make sense to me, but it's human nature. We get freed. We get freed and then become the very masters that we despised, you know?
Yep. I mumbled there. I meant to say the tolerance of intolerance is suicide.
Man, that's
so we are growing a bunch of Puritan culture in our nation, and it has to stop.
I don't understand it. What happened to walking around watering naked in your backyard? What happened to, wearing Jerusalem cruisers, wearing some Birkenstocks, looking a little scruffy,
Yeah.
Having that poncho you haven't washed in a week.
In the history of our country as a whole, that was kind of a short fad.
I still dress like that.
No, I mean the whole idea of tolerance
was
like from the late 60s through sometime in the 80s was the only time that people were pushing the idea that it would be good if we could be more tolerant of each other. And then that got clamped down on, and we've gone right back to where we were.
We really have, because in the 90s, there was this really weird piece of people just pretending to get along. Because the early 90s were extremely violent, at least here in LA. And then in the mid-90s, we wore cross colors and everything got bright, and then it went back to the way it was. But it just seemed like people were more tolerant of each other. But then again...
we did rise up, or have a number of cultures and subcultures rise up to a new level of freedoms and rights and liberties that everybody else had. Now they should have them too because they're enforced by law. But we didn't get everybody, and that's what we're trying to do now. But if people don't stand up and fight these Puritans right now, they are going to pull back all the freedoms and liberties and stuff that like the LGBT community gained. Every one of it. They want to end marriage. They want to get rid of you as a human being.
And sad story. If you guys want to hear a sad story, the state of California is still being sued for our marriage laws and our gun laws.
Mm-hmm.
So people, there is an actual law on the books that LGBTQIA plus people can get married, have the benefits and everything, and people are suing for lines on certain laws.
Yeah,
ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous. I looked this up. I couldn't believe it. I typed in who's suing the state of California. It's everybody who wants to own an AR-15 or spit on somebody under the umbrella. It's ridiculous.
well, see, and that's the part that pisses me off is why do we have to keep fighting the same battles over and over and over? Why do we have to have laws that specify protected groups? Why can't we just have laws that say you have to treat everyone the same regardless?
We do, but we have to keep on rewriting them because people just misinterpret and make things up, and we have to make new laws every time a mass amount of people get murdered for being who they are.
We're also dealing with half the system, half the people in politics who still have not gotten over Teddy and Franklin Roosevelt.
No.
And the new progressive and the New Deal.
Well,
if you want to annoy the neighbors,
it's more than that. It's, how many politicians do we have from southern states who really haven't gotten over losing the Civil War yet?
They still call it every time what do they call it? Northern aggression. Okay, so I'm going to tell you some advice. If you ever see Godless Sewing face to face, don't say that to me because that's a trigger, and I will fight you. That's made up. That's not real. That's made up. That's because you don't want to say the word slavery. You don't want to.
Yeah, they say it was about states' rights, but question them about which right it is that the states were trying to defend.
I'll fight. I will fight somebody.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I recently was it Jamie Oliver? Somebody recently walked around like a reenactment. Oh no, it was Chelsea Handler, and some guy, some grown man in 2021 was like, "Oh, it's states' rights." I literally turned off my computer and walked outside and was like, "Oh, enough, and that's enough internet for the day." This guy, I want to enjoy my house before the world just burns. I'm going to enjoy my beautiful life. I can't believe that people still think like that. That's quite literally still an excuse. As you can see, it gets me going. That's why I stay off Twitter.
We probably shouldn't broach the subject on your prednisone days.
Well, did you see the thing from Marjorie Tailor Greene trying to defend the statues and saying that she would defend a statue of Hitler?
Because she's a Poe. She is a Poe. She can't be real. I think they take her batteries out every night.
Well, from people I've talked to in Georgia, that they say her sentiment is not uncommon at all.
Well, obviously not, or she wouldn't have gotten elected. She has to be agreeable to the majority people in her district, or she wouldn't have a seat.
We've digressed. We have digressed. What was it? Was it Windows 97 when they figured out you didn't need those cards anymore? When was it?
Nobody ran against her because that seat is so uncompetitive for blues.
Wow. So she just basically walked into the Capitol.
Well, yeah, but maybe no Democrat ran against her. But, the Republicans still wouldn't have put her up if they didn't think, she had to be better than any other candidate they had available. You know, she must have had some kind of a primary.
She had to have, because there's a process to it, you know. I am following whoever's running against her now. I have to look them up, but I'm following who's ever running against her. It was someone saying, I'm running against Marjorie Greene. I was like, oh, well, follow.
You're roboting really bad, Jenny. We couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, Jenny. We're only hearing every third word, so I can't figure out what you're saying.
Still a great view, though.
Yeah, she probably went to move to where she got a better signal. She's Marjorie Greene Taylor's, and to me, she's insane. She's failed the psychological test. I don't know how they still have allowed her to be in a position of power. Well, and regardless of the psychological test, during the January 6th insurrection, she was tweeting out their position as the security guards were trying to protect them. How is this not giving aid to the enemy, and how is this not an act of treason? So how can she still be a federal representative?
I agree with you 150%. I've asked these questions again because if that was any of us, they would put us under the prison, quite literally.
If it had been any Democratic senator, you know, they'd be out of there.
Oh, in a heartbeat. If that was BLM people up there doing it, every single person up there would have been shot first off, and they would have called in an airstrike, you know.
Yeah, well, and that's the funny thing about the Republicans don't want there to be an investigative committee. And they're still trying to push this thing that it was Antifa and BLM dressed as Trump supporters.
Okay, like, so...
if they thought that was true, they would be ramrodding an investigation to find out who was really responsible.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If any of that was even, they could prove one person was like that, they'd already have them in prison. They're lying, and they don't want to get caught.
They don't want, they don't want an inquiry because they know that they're going to be found guilty. That the the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Lindsey Grahams and that are going to be shown to be culpable and involved with these fuckers.
We have actual footage, okay? Samantha Lux did a video where she showed some of Donald Trump Jr.'s rant during the rally. Just what he was saying about trans people in general. They were inciting a riot. They were constantly saying, hey, we're going to go down there. We're going to go down there. They literally were organizing it. They whipped the crowd up and ran to their bunkers. They're cowards. Every single one of them should be charged. Yep. Every single one of them. Hey, if you're going to, Isaiah, if you're going to annoy the neighbors, take it deep down. Take it down towards the end of the block. And don't hit the red button. Rule number one is don't always hit the red button. Sorry, we're playing with a megaphone.
It's okay to annoy the people we have to deal with in real life, just not the people on the internet, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm saying if you're going to annoy, just go spread the love to the neighbors, you know. Go walk outside and turn that thing on. That's all I'm saying. Isaiah, if you want to take it in the house, take it in the house. Go ahead.
Okay, and to people in the side chat, I don't know what has happened here, but StreamYards has stopped capturing the chat, so I can't highlight any comments anybody is making because they're not coming through on StreamYard anymore.
That's really weird.
I have to go at 3 o'clock.
Okay, well, actually, this would probably be a decent time to wrap this up here.
Aww.
Well, you're going anyway.
Yeah, I know. But aw.
So, we've been going 3 hours.
I know I gotta finish this and go put it on Twitter.
Okay, so before we start the official chilling, This just came up on Twitter. At Orla, who recently had to purchase a new refrigerator, has now had her washer die on her, so is finally decided to break down and ask for help, and is asking if anybody would donate to help them get a new washer and dryer. So there's the GoFundMe in the side chat for that.
Awesome.
Oh, and somehow when I posted that suddenly made StreamYard catch up on everything, because until that, there hadn't been any messages in the StreamYard chat since Sandy came in.
Oh, wow. I saw Jeff's. Wow, so you probably are having problems.
Yeah, but somehow when I posted that link, then it made it catch up with everything. So whatever.
I think I already told you, like a week ago. Was it a week ago? YouTube just randomly shut down. It was having massive.
Yeah. Well, and that happened. Well, that's happened about 3 times in the last 2 years now.
Exactly. So it happens.
Yeah, that YouTube servers just pack it up for a couple of hours, and it takes them a while to reboot.
It is a psychological study to watch my son go through real life withdrawals when the internet, when he's like, what am I going to do? I'm like, everything else works, just not YouTube. And he's like, what am I going to do? It's the strangest thing to see. That's why I make him, exercise for at least an hour with me every day. Or just be outside and get a tan. We live somewhere where the sun shines.
Okay, so anyway, we're going to wrap it up here. Well, Will, you're the one who's always got things going on, so what's this week's schedule?
On Pregnazone. Hi, I'm Godless Sewing from the Godless Sewing. You should come out and check out the Godless Sewing channel. You should subscribe to Godless Sewing. Every Thursday, Jen from Jen's Little Corner, Kitty, the Empress of Hell, and myself, Godless Sewing. We pick a topic, pick it apart, and judge people. And every Wednesday, Maddie from Science Side Up, Sam Chaos, and myself also have a podcast called Pub Religion that should be on this afternoon, 3:30 West Coast time. Don't quote me on that, but if it's up, it'll be our 8th or 9th. I'm honestly kind of lost track. We have some great episodes coming up. We have someone semi-famous that we interviewed. So, spoiler, check it out on Sam Chaos's channel every Wednesday.
Okay, so what's that, in like 2.5 hours for you?
Yeah.
Okay, Jenny, you got any scheduled appearances coming up?
Well, I think I'm going to be on the Purple Show, Midday Mid-America, on Friday night at midnight. Or Thursday night at midnight.
Thursday night, Friday morning.
Thursday night, right, yeah. Thursday night, midnight.
And the Sewing Circle.
And I guess I've just been invited to the Sewing Circle.
You're always invited.
But I'll have to find out the time and talk about it, giving me a link to it. Let's see. Well, I'm going to cardio rehab now.
Yep.
And so they're going to beat me up for a while, but I took drugs already, so.
Well, yeah, Jenny, the Sewing Circle should be tomorrow night at 9 our time.
Okay. I'll try to remember. And of course, there's movie night on Friday night at 10:30 Eastern. No, 11:30 Eastern. Sorry.
Drink.
And Sunday I'm just gonna sleep and masturbate and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Plans.
People, it's actually pretty easy. Eastern is real time minus 1 hour.
You know what's funny? I call West Coast time real time.
Mostly I just use real time to troll the Brits.
Hey, I want to give a plug. Does anybody watch? Are you TikTok fans? Do you look at TikTok?
No.
Have you? If you do, you have got to track down and run into a woman by the name of Chelsea. I think her tag is Chelsea is me. She is just an absolute riot. She's brilliant. I think she's a professional comedian or has done professional comedy. She can sing opera. She lives in Europe and she just shreds anybody to the bone. Just she is so funny. Yeah, and I just wanted to give her a plug.
Oh, now you're making me think of somebody, but I don't know if I can find his channel.
I'm not a GMT is real time, huh, Theo? Oh, Theo, you should come to LA. I'm gonna put you in the car, take you to the hood, get you some sweet potato pie and some tamales. That'll be awesome.
Oh, sweet potato pie.
I actually learned to make it because my dad made it. I don't even like sweet potatoes. I think they're disgusting, but I think sweet potato pie is the greatest thing on earth.
Oh boy, I love sweet potato pie.
I can't stand. I'm not a yam person.
Yeah, but you can prepare some sweet potatoes like they're the filling for sweet potato pie, and just eat them, and they taste the same.
I agree. No. I agree with that. That's how I was convinced to eat it as a child. I've always thought they were disgusting, but for some reason I'm like, it's one of those things. I grew up with it, so I don't know any better. But they're amazing. Sweet potato pie is amazing.
Yeah,
I don't like sweet potatoes at all.
And pumpkin pie.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. I would never eat a sweet potato by itself, but a pumpkin pie as well. Isaiah and I are so bad that when we go to the store, we get our own pumpkin pies and we put our names on the lids. I love pumpkin pie.
Yep. I don't buy them because I know I could eat an entire pie. I get so addicted to them.
Oh, they are addicting. That's why I put my thirsty picture up there, because I've been working out. That's all fed by cheeseburgers and bad decisions, pumpkin pie and cornbread, and
cornbread.
Okay.
Like rice and eggs. Poached eggs.
Matter of fact, I'll leave on that note here. Edit avatar. Here's my thirsty picture. Godless abs.
Well,
here's the guy is looking for Alexander Stewart. There's a link to his page of all of his links, but he does TikToks and YouTube, and this guy is just hilarious.
Awesome.
I ran into him through Sarcastic Barman had him on his show a couple of weeks ago. But even before that, he had used a number of his TikTok clips in some of his compilations. The guy's chat, just hilarious at punching down idiots.
I hope the chat enjoys the scenery shots that we've been doing. Whether you know the area or not, if you have any ideas for the kind of scene you'd like to look at, let me know and I'll try to find something like that around here.
Well, I've gotten DMs from people about these scenery shots, and some of them saying that that's what they wind up coming in here for now. And mostly just that it's calming to look at the river in the middle of the day.
Yeah, it is.
Just to be able to take their lunch break from work and just look at nature for a little while.
All right, well, I'm going to take off then.
Yep. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow night. So yeah, for me, basically, I'm just doing my thing here. And most Saturdays with the shills, the time for that's been moving around a bit. I think it's now going to be 6 o'clock Saturdays. I'm a little confused by it because they switched the time. So other than that, you know, what Will said. So I will post. I don't have any updates yet on Sloth Girl, so you know, if she was out of surgery, her son would have told me by now. But it was expected to be a couple hours, so we're not worrying about anything yet. And I'll post something on Twitter as soon as I hear something. Keep people updated there. So thank you all for coming, and we will catch you all later. Bye-bye.
See you later.